Welcome back. You're still watching Cheche, the show where opinion counts, and today we're interrogating the strength of the independent candidate or the independent member of the legislature or any other elective seat going forward in as far as Kenya's political landscape is. We're still having Bwana Kabando wa Kabando, Mukurweni, member of parliament in studio, and also Nicholas Gumbo, a member of parliament for Arieda constituency, going for the Siaya gubernatorial seat as an independent candidate. Incidentally, Bwana Kabando wa Kabando is seeking to defend his Mukurweni parliamentary seat as an independent, but they do admit their allegiances still lie with the same party that they left. Right now, you're not a member of ODM. You're not a member of Jubilee because you have resigned. But now going forward, we're looking at the possibility of caucusing, especially within the legislative arms of government, the Senate and the National Assembly, but even within the larger elective positions, because yes, there's a possibility that even governors could caucus as independents without really having allegiance to the party. And possibly, does that even have the potential to affect the 2022 succession debate, that kind of caucusing? Let's start with Bwana Muteginjawa and what you're seeing, because we're seeing, and I would have loved you to comment on this issue of the ODM ticket or the Jubilee ticket weakening because of the independent factor. Do you think it's a possibility that yes, the Jubilee ticket in Mukurweni is now weaker because the candidate who is a sitting member of parliament is now in independence?
That must happen. Even if it may be insignificant, but it will happen. Because when you're independent, you're independent. You are not Jubilee, you are not ODM.
Yes.
Say, for instance, when he claims that if Uhuru goes to Mukurweni, he will go to the platform. I do not know whether it will happen the same in other situations. Like if Raila Odinga goes to Cheche and there is the governor there and him be given a microphone to speak, I don't know.
Yes.
But whatever, yes, that will weaken the situation.
But you think this continued allegiances to their parties of choice that they were members of is probably informed by the strength of the party right now, that probably once they discover as independents that their strength is bigger, that they could change, they could actually shift. Bwana Gumbo will no longer feel that he has to toe the line as far as the party is concerned?
Without sounding like I'm underrating the intelligence of the common voter, very few people really understand this issue of independence as we speak now. And so it is for that reason that somebody like Kabando wa Kabando says, I am independent, yes, but I will campaign for Uhuru Kenyatta, because that voter there identifies with Uhuru Kenyatta. I am on the side of Uhuru Kenyatta. So anybody who is on the side of Uhuru Kenyatta, that is the person I will go go by. But on the issue of caucusing, for the governor's position, I don't know how it will pan out. At least for members of parliament, it's clear. Why would they caucus? They would caucus to get slots in the committees of the House. They would caucus to get backing on motions and such like things. And so if these parties, like Kabando wa Kabando said, are willing to give them those slots in the committees and back their motions, why would they need to caucus? I am seeing a situation where we may have 50 out of the 290 elected members of parliament, but probably, if not more, but maybe only 1, 2, 3, less than 10 clearly independent. The rest will fall to either of the sides. One, the carrot will be dangled. They'll be told, we are appointing you to this committee and this committee, so come to our side. Two, they'll be told, you will this motion you brought Kabando wa Kabando, we will back you on it, come to our side. And remember what he said, the moment you append your signature and say, I will be affiliated to this for the remainder of my term in the House, you will be tied down like Wesley Korir and like Gatobu Kino.
But what if you go into the National Assembly and suddenly you discover, wow, as independents we're quite a huge number, and because Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga for that matter are not seeking re-election beyond 2017, why should I really?
You know, it talked about the lacuna or the space you find in the political transition. The president is in office until there is a handover, either for continuity or for replacement. We are members of parliament. This is a different scenario, and Kenyans will have to grasp with this. For the first time, we are having a national election without dissolution of parliament. So we are in office until the next parliament is gazetted. So until 8th of August, we are in office. I'm in office as who? I'm in office as a TNA member of parliament who has transited to Jubilee Party member of parliament. That means that my party leader, up to that particular joint or spot, is my president.
Yes.
Okay? So that's number one. But the reality is that we are going to be together. We are tied
up until August.
Let's give you a quick example. We have the Madaraka Day celebrations. Unless some people bring mischief, if you come to Nyeri County and the celebrations will be in Nyeri County on 1st of June, you'll have the governor of the county of Nyeri seated there. Okay? You'll have the senator of the county of Nyeri seated there in the space of the county leadership. You'll have the incumbent members of parliament. Whether they have lost nominations or they haven't, they are still in office until the end. Some of them sharing very important tokens of the Jubilee leadership in the parliament and out of parliament. Then when you talk about coming together, and we realize we have very many members. I know there is caucuses of people who are independent. Some of us, like myself, I made a clear decision that I'm not going to grievance the party. I'm not going to petition or complain about the party, and I'm not in any caucuses myself. You know, I want to concentrate on two things only, and I think many people make that decision, or they have made that decision, to dedicate my time, energy on the national campaign for the presidency, for my leader Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto, and then domicile some of that energy to Mokoroini for parliamentary seat. For any other seat in Nyeri County, gubernatorial, senator, women rep, MCAs, you see, is for you are on your own. So when you, and this is going to be the reality across the country, that we are seeking support for the national leadership. So to even contemplate that after elections we are going to go to parliament, and all of a sudden realize that we are very many, we can work together. Some of us are very conscious and are very clear and are very determined our route.
But Bonagumbo, you must admit that once this election is done, and everyone has assumed the position that they're assuming, maybe you become governor, Bonakabando ends up in the National Assembly, but things will definitely change.
Of course they would. And I think let us disabuse this wrong notion that if you're independent you can't caucus. In fact, what happens even in normal situations is the inter-party caucusing. Kabando will tell you, when we settled into the 11th parliament, one of the key issues was the VAT law, the value-added tax law. And even within Jubilee, there was serious caucusing. Why? Because the proposals that were made, we were looking at both the demand and the supply side of things. The proposals that were made, in some areas they were affecting people whose primary activity is farming. I remember there was this I wouldn't call it a riot in Gatundu, but there was a complaint in Gatundu that since value-added tax was added to chicken feeds, we are not able to sell our eggs and we can't get it. So you have issues which are local,
cross-cutting,
and you have issues which are cross-cutting. You cannot, for example, persuade a member of parliament from Meru to talk against Mira, because then you are touching your own nerve. You cannot persuade someone coming from where I'm coming to talk about fishing, because then you are touching your own nerve. So caucusing is a continuous, it's a virtual and a continuous work in progress. And therefore, that's why I see myself no fear whatsoever that as a governor, no one can cheat you that if a governor is an ODM and MPs are ODM, then he will just reload these programs on them. Absolutely not. Because you are coming, for example, I'll give you just the geography of Siaya County. The southern part where I come from, the road network is not a major issue. You go to the northern part of Siaya County, it's a major issue. You are not going to tell people that I'm going to put all the money that I'm going to, even if those MCAs are elected on ODM, that our programs are going to focus only on health, when the reality of the matter is that when it rains, you cannot access virtually half the county. So caucusing is a continuous work in progress, and you cannot whether you are independent, ODM or any other party, you cannot drive an agenda without getting it on board. Because these are all disparate. All the MCs that are coming, I will be having about 30 elected MCs and possibly about 15 or 18.
Most of them was ODM members.
I do not know. I cannot say for sure, but I know for a fact that a few are likely to be independent, judging by what I'm seeing on the ground. But be that as it may, each one of them are having issues which are local to them. For example, you take the case of Rarieda, the southern part of Rarieda. Cotton farming is a major issue. Whether you're elected on independent or elected as an ODM member, anyone who does not touch on that issue affects you. So someone has to bring you on board and assure you that that interest which is peculiar to your area is being taken on board.
Let me give you an example of...
now that him is going for the county job, probably we could move slightly from the legislative arm and look at how an independent governor, how easy it would be for them to work with a county assembly that's predominantly belonging to one party.
Yes. In fact, it's a good thing for Kenya. The biggest problem we have now is that county assemblies are whipped in very many counties to be pawns in the power game in the counties. Many of them pocketed by governors, so that the ability to oversight the county government is very limited. So if you are going to have a governor who is from a minority party, or a governor who doesn't control the county assembly, people will say that there will be difficulties in passing bills or the budget. I don't think that's a big problem. I don't think there are genuine leaders in the grassroots who do want to frustrate an agenda which is...
But you come from Nyeri, and we saw the issue in Nyeri.
No, I think that, don't even make a reference to that, Mr. Idimuri, because it was more to do with the politics than what was being...
So gentlemen, here we are talking about perception vis-a-vis realism. I mean, the reality, and I'll bring in the case of Nairobi, for example. There's an MCA who was actually de-whipped from the party. Why? Because he stood up and talked against the governor who belongs to the same party.
You got it. So it's a good thing when you have a diversity of membership in the county assemblies, so that there is an effort and there is a struggle in composition of the leadership of assemblies organs, including committees. I can tell you one instance you can give that was really difficult for even the National Assembly ourselves is when there was 2 years ago the skirmishes and confrontations pertaining to the reforms at IEBC, the electoral laws and the composition of the IEBC itself. And we had serious difficulties because on one side, the court brigade in the parliament and out of parliament were being fixed to one corner by their leadership. On the other hand, we in Jubilee were being put in a very tight compartment, watertight compartment. We could not move, and we had to have to muster courage. A few of us, and I'm proud that I was a leader of that initiative, to come together, caucus, and compel the leadership. I say compel because it's now water under the bridge, that we only talk to the leadership of our parties. That is the leadership of Jubilee, President, Deputy, the leadership of Parliament, the majority, minority leaders, the administration of Parliament, and even the leadership of CORD. It took some of us, not ODM MPs. They took myself to call Raila, to call Karonzo, to go to see Mudavadi in his office, talk to my president as my party leader, and compel a situation where 172 members of Parliament convened and insisted that there must be a resolution of this matter. I would like to see such a scenario emerging in our 47 counties, where in the county assemblies, when matters are important to the county, the leadership, individual leadership, is inspired or instigated by a conscience or a spirit to do something that will compel the governors and the dominant political parties in that area, say for instance in Siaya, to come and agree on a particular way. Because now currently if you go to his zone, very many of the governors would not to do the things they want to do without consulting the party headquarters, despite that irrespective and notwithstanding the fact that they are endowed with the constitutional obligations, duties and responsibilities.
And very few MPs would stand up and say if a governor
in
is
fact,
corrupt, unless he's seen as
in fact, I want to tell you this, that there is a price to pay for that. Every time an MCA or a member of parliament, or for that matter, if there will be governors, would take a position that is non-conformist, that is unconventional and unorthodox to the whims and the reigns of the reign of the party sponsoring, you'll be marked.
Yes.
For punishment. You can see that. But I think when he gave the example of Masida Muriro, and you said it a long time ago, you remember when J.M. Kaliku was killed, and by the way I'm very happy. You can congratulate your party leader for nominating my close friend Rosemary Kariuki as a member of the East African Legislative Assembly. When J.M. was killed, Masida Muriro was a cabinet minister, public works. He took a position. When Ouko was killed, it took the famous orator from Nyeri, the tall tree, Waroro Kanja, son of Erimo, to say we cannot have this thread where everybody emerging to prominence is eliminated. I think these are important lessons that we need to resonate and rejuvenate. But
Bonagumbo, as a candidate for governor, do you feel safe knowing that once you become governor, the MCAs could probably belong predominantly to ODM?
How do you see it?
You will not be
independent governor.
Like I told you, it has to be a work in progress. I have no reason to believe. Number one, I can't, from where I sit now, I can't say how many will be ODM, but I know for a fact there will be a few who will be independent.
But of course, majority being CII,
yes, but that's a likelihood. It could be the other way around. But like I said, I think let us look at the nobility of the programs that we are talking about. I told you that whether you are within ODM, caucusing has to be there. You cannot just sit as a governor and decide that this is what I'm going to do. Remember, in Dumeli, what people transact at the levels of leadership, it doesn't matter whether I like Kabando is good looking or not. That's irrelevant. What people transact is interests. Which MCA is this who is going to oppose the governor when his problem is water in his ward, and the governor is telling him by supporting this program you're going to have water in your ward? Which MCA is this who is going to oppose the governor when the governor is telling him that, look my friend, your roads are impassable, but in this financial year, according to the programs that we have, we are going to make sure that your area has got good roads. So I am telling you, experience, and I've been a member of parliament, the two of us, for close to 10 years now. What people trade at these levels is interest.
Okay.
I think sometimes we tend to give too much space to expediency, even where it's not necessary.
Yes, isn't it possible if you fall out with the leader of ODM or NAS, whatever, that MCAs can be instigated to impeach you just for pure political reasons?
Well, you see, Mutegi, sometimes, of course, people think differently. But don't forget, to be an independent governor, for one, you actually, in a sense, having the direct mandate of the people.
Yes. With that question again, it's been said that parties and party leaders, for that matter, have had a lot of influence in how some of these counties are run, especially if it's an ODM county. If the governor is an ODM member, probably the party leader has a lot of influence in how that particular county is run. Do you think that will change if at all you become
I think that's presumptive. I think that's presumptive. The reason I'm saying it's presumptive is because the promise of devolution, I mean, what are the objectives of devolution? That doesn't change, whether you're in Jubilee or you're in court. Devolution, the key underlying issue of devolution is a better life for all Kenyans.
What you're saying is the true spirit and the true letter of the Constitution as far as devolution is concerned. But the future is made of the past. And what we have seen these 5 years...
Let me finish, Charles. Of course, human being and vested interest. Sometimes you can't separate the two. There are some people who, for whatever reason, and because it is expedient at the time to do so, may want to push an agenda which is anti what the programs that you intend to give to the people is. We saw, for example, we have had cases where you have a minority governor, as it is. You saw the case of Makueni County, Kivuta Kibwana, where the MCAs, a majority of whom were Wiper, who had, for whatever reason, the working relations was not there.
Exactly. Even Kajiado. Kajiado, they don't...
Kajiado is the same.
I think, engineer, there's something that we need to capture here. And that is about, again, you can call it expediency or convenience, but going forward, if you look at where we are today, if you go to the NASA coalition, you can see the arrangements they have made with their affiliate parties, the power sharing arrangement and so on and so forth, ahead of elections. So there's a realization of a difficulty if no arrangement is done and no covenant is entered. If you come to Jubilee, as I said, I was a member of the National Steering Committee. We collapsed very many parties together. But as we are holding our NDC at Bomas, which I attended despite the fact that I had not then entered. I only entered 2 days later. Our party leader, because of that convenience, pre-election, despite the call for one strong party, he first went to 4 conventions or small parties. And even now,
which had refused to collapse.
Actually, the parties that refused to collapse, PNU, DP, KANU, Naki Kenya, and even 2 new that don't have even a single MCA. Your one called is the Economic Freedom Party, that is domiciled in 1 county called Madeira. Another one called Northern Frontiers Party, that's domiciled in only 1 county called Masabit. So we should expect that post-election, we are going to have necessary competitive environment that will not create dictators in the parties, that will not create so much. And again, you see, as the engineer says, on the ground there will be dynamics. I don't agree with the argument that party leaders, for instance, I have to tell you that our leader Uhuru Kenyatta doesn't interfere with the leadership of our counties. The 23.
That is not the case with the deputy president. But a lot of people who have lost.
Do you believe that that's the same in ODM-led counties?
I cannot talk authoritatively about the leadership of ODM. The only thing I know about, and I appreciated it, is that they have nominated the daughter of J.M. Kariuki to East Africa Community. But about other
what about the deputy president? You said the president did not. But there are a lot of people who have lost. Yes, have complained that interference from the deputy president.
Well, I was here yesterday for breakfast, and thank you for the Cheche today. Yes, Mutegi, people have their reasons to grievance, to complain, and people have their evidences. Personally, I talked about forces, and I talked about manipulation and so on and so forth, because I have a very credible report that has compelled me to go back and, like a good driver, learn how to look at the side mirror to reverse and take a position that is credible and rational. But as to whether there was any individual interfering with the nominations in any part of this country, it is not for me to say.
Okay. Well, Gumbo, do you believe that your party leader, I still refer to you as an ODM member, because you're still an ODM member of the National Assembly, that he has had no influence in how ODM-led counties are run?
Well, of course, that would be naive. I mean, the ODM stands for certain principles, and definitely he would want. And don't forget, we stand for social democracy and inclusivity. If you are not running the county government in a manner that reflects the aspirations of the party, definitely would give a position.
So even as an independent governor, you would not be free to be totally independent as a governor of Siam?
No. What I'm saying, totally free, of course, absolute freedom doesn't exist, number one.
So you'll still have to...
absolute freedom doesn't exist, because you see, like even where we are sitting now, I have the freedom to swing my arms, but that freedom stops where I hit
my body.
Yeah, so there's no absolutism in life. I can tell you for a fact that you cannot, whether you are elected ODM governor with all the MCs, including all the nominated MCs, ODM. You cannot drive an agenda if you're not willing to consult and sit with people to take charge of all these disparate interests. And I've demonstrated even within the constituency. And even if he goes to Mukurweni, he will tell you that even within the constituency, in a particular ward, the interest directly conflict with the interest of another side. So consultation is a must. And to me, I think what we are witnessing really is a very positive thing. Yes. It is a very good thing for our country because, number one, if you have more independent MPs coming to Parliament, and if you have, say, out of the 47 county governments, you have about 5-10 governors coming in as independents, then that is a call to the major political formations to do a SWOT analysis, to do an internal review. What is it that made some of these people who are our members now coming out there and proving a point to the people that their agenda can be acceptable even without them driving on the vehicle.
And it has happened. And in 2008,
yes,
I came in as a Savina member of Parliament.
Yes.
During the elections, the party leader of PNU, then President of the Republic of Kenya, came to Mukurweni to campaign for the other candidate. But the moment I was elected, with the majority of the small parties, as the PNU having a minority of only 43, the first meeting that happened was not with the PNU elected members, was with members of the small parties in a notice broadcast in all radio stations that all individuals elected on smaller parties that are friendly to PNU are invited to a special meeting with His Excellency President Kibaki at the State House. And from there, of course, the rest was watershed. We are even appointed to the cabinet.
Yeah, and Fred, it goes to the core of what I was talking about. Actually, it is a question of trading interest, and the seduction, by the way, is mutual. You're not going to look at it that it is going to be only one way.
There's something in it for everyone.
There's something in it.
So you don't see the possibility of any candidate or any governor trying to run his own course? And,
absolutely not. I mean,
it's not possible.
It's not possible because ultimately a county is a subset of the country. You cannot, for example, divorce the interests of Sia County with the larger interests of the country. The majority of the people in Sia County are ODM members.
Can you give him a very good example?
Yes.
Kajiado. Kajiado has an ODM governor. But 98% of the MCs
are Jubilee.
Yes. But you can
that's
see
the example I was giving.
Example, and you can see it's one of the countries where you have not had very serious conflict.
They have challenges, but they know how.
They have challenges.
Just like
the governor is faced to the fact that he needs to be sensitive, reasonable, and mature to the county assembly.
Kabando, before you go there, give him the dichotomy: Kajiado and Embu. Embu, virtually all the MCS are Jubilee.
Yes.
Who has had more problems, Kadienye or my friend Wambora? So really, I mean, this presuppositions that as long because Kadienye, you know, the once you become a leader, Fred, and Kabanda and I, we are lucky that we are coming into this with 10 years behind us of national leadership. And like I've said before, I always, he knows one of my bylines in Parliament, which I always tell young MPs when some of them even overshoot the standing orders. I always remind them that no school, no college, no university teaches experience. You cannot discount that. It is a question of give and take. And I can tell you, in my estimation, independent governors like yours truly, Engineer Nicholas Bumbo, will be the best performer.
Okay. Time for another break, but just before this break, I need to ask, would you, for example, push for this loophole that I'm calling it a loophole because it appears like it was an oversight when they were doing the legislation to bar party hopping. This gap that's now being exploited by very many people appears to have been someone missed something somewhere. Would you push for this loophole to be closed?
No, I think it's something that benefited. It's something good that has happened because first, it has allowed parties to realize that they need to organize themselves early. If you look at the smaller parties, we only say small parties because we don't know what is going to happen in August, to organize themselves very early. I know very many people running for MCAs including from my county of Nyeri, who had their tickets assured almost like 6 months before. This needs to happen in political parties. So you need to organize yourself very well. Doesn't it worry this country that as we sit here today, we are bypassing the deadlines every day of the Elections Act that we pass in the Parliament, the deadlines that are gazetted by the IEBC, because we have more than 100 cases.
Hundreds actually.
Hundreds
and
of
don't
cases.
you think therefore it is necessary to tighten and see some of the loopholes to make it much faster and easier?
Let me finish. It is now the fact that we still have cases happening. Even yesterday, even as we speak now, there are counties that are still voting and others where they are still counting. As we speak, there are nearly 50 individuals given tickets, but the tickets have been frozen either by tribunals or by their respective parties because of skirmishes. I was yesterday at the Jubilee headquarters. I met very many of my colleagues. They have tickets, but they cannot move because they have been frozen. We should insist on using this as a lesson for the next election, that the parties must do their grassroots mobilization, their membership portfolio very nicely, so that the selection or the election of the nominees for the general election is done in good time, because it should worry everybody, every party honcho, that very important members of their parties, members, I'm not talking candidates, are uncertain of the decisions to make and are known. Number two, shouldn't it worry the country that no party used the party register to do any nomination?
Do they even have registers for that?
They do, but they didn't use. There is a register, the register of political parties. But ODM did not, Jubilee did not, Wiper did not. So if you go to court like Muranga has done, or Machakos, and you say you are saying that your candidate got 200,000 votes, but according to the records available, you have only 50,000 registered members in this county. Should you worry the parties very much?
Do you think ODM and let's say NASA and Jubilee, for this matter, are not keen to seal this loophole? That what they've seen and the fallout that has come from the party primaries will actually push them to push for a change in law before the next election?
Well, the only way you can do it is it's a constitutional grounding. You cannot, so long as somebody doesn't belong to a political party 90 days before a general election, you can use the independent route. So without effecting a constitutional amendment, I think
it's necessary.
It's one of those that do not necessarily need a referendum.
I can tell you, and I can tell you, speaking as an engineer, when you design a building like this, one of the things that you will have to do before you get approval from a local authority is to provide a fire escape route. If you don't provide a fire escape route, this to me is a very nice fire escape route, and it has to stay. And it is a very good thing. It is going to reawaken. In fact, you see, when you look at, for example, even what has happened in France, Emmanuel Macron, you know, this is a virtual unknown. In fact, when he came, he's a very odd man. I saw somewhere that he's the only man known who has sons who are older than him. So this is a virtual. What does that tell you? It tells you that really where the paradigm in political formations is now becoming very dynamic, and what the traditional formations that we have been thinking about, perhaps to me, I think what this thing is doing, the leaders of the big political parties, is not an opportunity for recrimination. It's not an opportunity for name calling. You remember, for example, my party leader Raila Odinga, and I call him my party leader because I am still campaigning for him. Don't forget.
And you're still an ODM member of parliament.
And I'm still an ODM member.
He has resigned as a member of
I'm campaigning for him. You remember what he said? Yes. He said that he recognizes, which is true, that the fact that there are so many independent candidates is an indictment on the internal processes of the electioneering within ODM. Okay. So this, for me, is an opportunity for a SWOT analysis for the political parties. True. Where did we go wrong, and how do we improve from that? And I think we have to go back to where we started. If we are demanding absolute fidelity in the way national elections are conducted. Because don't forget, in some parts of the country, like I saw, for example, the incoming governor for Nandi County, getting a party nomination is a virtual election. It's in fact all you are waiting for is gazettement. He is saying that he's now busy forming his cabinet. Yeah, because it's virtually there, barring, for example, natural consequences and calamities. He is going to be the governor for Nandi, and I wish him well. My friend Stephen Tang is a young fellow. I think Kenya needs vibrant people like that with vibrant ideas on how to move this country forward. So Fred, I don't think this is not even a loophole, by the way. And incidentally, as I sit here, let me say proudly that provision was brought by a man from nowhere else other than Rarieda.
The one and
Mwalimu Ogola Okendo is a retired teacher, so Rarieda is giving this country a fire escape route, which is going to change the politics of this country.
Time for another break. When we return, we look at some of the concerns with regard to the electoral process as well, the nitty-gritties of having this many independent candidates for the ballot for the presidential race in particular, up to 18 could be in that particular ballot. What does it mean even in terms of having election agents or party agents or agents for all these candidates in one particular polling station? That when we return.